So when I was in 5th grade, we were at a 4th and 5th grade camp in the middle of the woods. And it was split up into women and men, or ladies and boys, or girls and gentlemen, as they say. Because you don't want 4th and 5th grade. You get the point. It's not really relevant to the actually, it is extremely relevant to the story, because what would happen is we would prank one another in the evening time. And so you have 12 p.m. rolling around. 12 a.m. rolling around. And it's like, oh, it's time to go get some popsicles from the community place. So we would go into the community area, grab some popsicles. And this is a campground. It's not just one giant building. We're probably walking half a mile in between these buildings at 12 a.m. at night. And so we go get some popsicles and we go get some toilet paper. And what's the natural response? Well, you got to go toilet paper the women, their cabins. And
the women, not their cabins, but the women themselves.
And so we're going to toilet paper the women, and unbeknownst to us, their clothes are hanging on lines. They're drying out because we were in the creek earlier. And we were in 4th and 5th grade, so we didn't really have the foreknowledge of what some of these items were. And their significance and intimacy behind them. So we grabbed them and threw them in the ground. And the next day, the next day rolls around. We get into a big meeting in the main camp counselor. She says, no more pranks ever. Which in the moment it was like, come on, we were just having fun, because we also did a little shaving cream to all those items as well, because that's a classic. We shaving creamed all their clothes. We threw some of them on the ground. I don't know if we threw them. Maybe it was just like a cause and effect type item. So maybe the toilet paper roll hit it so hard that it knocked it to the ground. But
sure.
When they woke from their slumber, there was a lot of toilet paper, there was a lot of shaving cream, and there was a lot of intimate clothing that was dirty.
Can you imagine being that age and just waking up and finding out that a group of young boys has gone through and defiled your belongings?
I cannot imagine it, but I can imagine what it was like on the other side.
The defiler. That's great. Wow. And this was this a church event?
Of course.
I was assuming so. Wow. Can you tell us the name of this location?
Yeah, absolutely. Camp Koinonia. It's in the panhandle of Florida. It actually might be in Alabama. You know what? I've never even looked at it on a map, so I have no idea where it is.
I want to say it's in Florida. That's my guess. But you said that there was some Bigfoot sightings around Koinonia last week, right?
There's
y'all
Bigfoot.
Y'all should have blamed the Bigfoot for all these, misadventures that happened.
Well, there's also a ghost. Not a ghost like what you would. Bam Bam is his name. Bam Bam makes his appearance at night in the woods. And you always got to watch out for Bam Bam, so you can be running around banging on cabins. Oh, it's Bam Bam. You know, that kind of thing.
It's Bam Bam.
You never know what might not happen.
He's got shaving cream.
Bam Bam stole the shaving cream and he sprayed it all over the ladies' clothes.
Oh, man. That's too good. Oh, man. What a fun time to be alive. You know what I mean? Just that age when you
times
go to
are much more
camp
simple.
100%. anything could happen. I mean, the world was quite literally your oyster.
Yeah. Well, that was what? Let me count. How old is a fourth grader and fifth grader? 10?
9.
9? That was around 15, 14 years ago. What I'm wondering is how the past 7 days have been for you.
Well, the past 7 days have been pretty good, man. It's been, gosh, that looks gooey. And if you're listening, I'm saying that because Beau is he's just diving headfirst into a delicious little s'more here that he's fixed just before this episode. But I'll continue anyways.
It's hard. I'm not going to be able to talk. It's stuck on the top of my mouth.
I'll take a lot of time so you can compose yourself. It was a good week. Let's see, we got some rain Sunday night, kind of carrying over into Monday morning. And I've got these shoes, they're Clarks is what they are. And so obviously the Clarks were really big back, my freshman year of college, senior year of high school. And so I've been wearing the same pair of Clarks for, 7 years, maybe 8 years. And I started wearing them to work because I've got boots at my job site that if I need to go out onto the job site, I can just, slip those on and then I'm good to go. But I'm in the office 85% of the time, so why not, wear something a little more comfortable? So I wear these comfortable Clarks, and they finally bit the dust. Monday morning, I was walking out to my truck, and as I said before, the ground had a little bit of water on it, and I get in my truck, and I'm like, my sock feels a little squishy. And I turn the flashlight on my phone, pull my foot up, over my knee, and apparently I had worn a hole in the bottom of it. It wasn't a big hole. It was just, the sole had gotten just thin enough to where there's a little crack in it. And obviously that's where the water starts infiltrating. So that was unfortunate. On a Monday morning, you're really just going to break on me, shoe? Like these shoes that I love so much. But look, I've had a pair. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask you if you could share with us a couple, let's say 2 of your favorite memories while wearing those shoes, just to reflect on it.
Okay, I can do that. First one, I'm in Gainesville. And I'm waiting. Surprise, surprise. I'm at a hibachi restaurant. I'm at Yamato on Newberry. And it's me and Molly. I think it's maybe for my birthday, lunch, dinner, whatever it was. And one of the waiters comes up, and we're waiting for our table, just sitting down. And one of the waiters comes up, and, he's an African-American gentleman, and he says, "Hey, man, I love those shoes. I've been asking my girl to, like my birthday's coming up. I've been asking my girl for a pair of these shoes. I'm hoping to get some, but I think they look really good on you." And it's crazy that, you asked me a random question about these shoes. I can still think back and remember when he said that. I'm a big words of affirmation guy, so that was huge for me. And that should really be a testament for anytime we feel like we should compliment somebody, go ahead and do it. Because, I just remember that off the fly. So it's probably going to be, a pretty big deal to whoever you're complimenting. That's just a little sidebar. But that's one of them that made me feel pretty good. The other one was in London. I actually wore these walking around London. Big mistake, because at that point, I was junior in college. So I probably had these for 3.5, 4 years. And they were, the soles were getting a little worn at that point. So you're walking around this big city and you're feeling every crack in the sidewalk underneath your feet. So it really was kind of like going barefoot in the city. You had a layer of protection there from this filthy floor, but really it was kind of a cool feeling. You feel grounded a little bit. And I'm actually going to get to that a little bit later in my week. But yeah, that was probably my second favorite memory with it, was just, wow, I'm walking around this city and I can feel everything underneath me right now.
That's pretty special. Were there any lizard people underneath you?
Look, there's a lot of tunnels. They've got the tube, is what they call it, the subway. They call it the tube. Who's to say there's not a bunch more tunnels with lizard people, possibly aliens? Who knows?
Yeah. You know what they say?
What's that?
Say something. Say something. There's a third part of that.
See it, say it, sorted. That's what they say.
Oh, that's a good one. Say it. I can't do it.
Your accent's gotten a little rough, dude.
I have to get into the rhythm here, and it always starts with "Hello, governor." All right, we're back in it. See it, say it, sort it. Oh,
it's
now,
still a little.
It's kind of in the middle of American and Australian.
I was saying it seems a little Middle Earthy to me, like you're into the dang Lord of the Rings, is what it sounds like. But yes, see it, say it, sorted. All right, that's a classic.
There's just not enough syllables. There's just not enough syllables to get really into the British accent. Say it, say it, sort it.
Yeah, sorted. Yeah, but yeah, that was a great memory. Out of those memories were really just great with those shoes. So maybe I'll do a Viking burial. Send them out on Blackwater River, and light it on fire or something like that. That'd probably be a good way to say sayonara to a pair of shoes that really did me well.
Yeah. I actually had got married in them, didn't you?
I did not. Unfortunately, I should have. I love these shoes. I should have done it, but they wouldn't go with my black tux because they're brown.
You mean your black tux wouldn't have gone with your shoes?
Exactly. Or maybe I'll just wrap them in duct tape, because that's what I do with my tennis shoes. They become lawn care shoes at that point. I've got several pairs of tennis shoes that my toes, I got to retape them because my big toe kind of sticks out of them on the side. But yeah, that might be a good course of action. So that's kind of how my week started. Just a little wet foot. So I had to go back inside, change my sock, because no way I'm rolling with a wet sock for the rest of the day. And whenever I get to work, my senior superintendent, he comes up to me and he drinks his water from a copper vessel. It's not a canteen. It's kind of like I don't even really know how to describe it. Yeah, I mean, it's very, very similar to what you've got there, but it's solid copper.
Wow.
Is that copper?
This is
aluminum.
Poly Concept.
Not copper. Anyways, he said he had some friends that are from India, like the country India, and they always pour their water into a pitcher, a copper pitcher, because supposedly copper has, antibacterial properties. I would believe that, but they let it sit in that pitcher for around 24 hours to, I guess, kill the germs in it. But as they would pour the water into their glass, they would say words of affirmation to the water. And he thought they were crazy, but he went through and he researched it. And apparently there's studies out there that say that water has memory and it reacts to the words that you say to it. I don't know if that's true, But he said there's like this study that they took water and spoke kind things over it and loving things over it, and then stuck it in the freezer. And supposedly the crystalline shapes, of the ice were, I don't know, cooler or neater possibly than if they didn't say it. So it may be bunk, but I also didn't research any of it. And I took his word for it. So, or at least I did whenever he was telling me. So I don't know if I believe that or not, but really anytime I see him in the office and I've got a water bottle, I always open it up and I'm like, you're the most gorgeous water bottle. I just want to drink you up.
Here we go again with the ads.
Oh no.
It's not going to stop.
So yeah, that was really the middle of my week. Those are kind of the two things that stuck out to me the most. And then on Saturday, we had some friends over at our apartment complex has like an outdoor kitchen, summer kitchen, whatever you want to call it. And so we got some burgers and grilled them up. And it was kind of that beautiful little transition from, it was a warm day. It was, high 70s, really a beautiful day. And it was kind of transitioning down into the high 60s. And so, I made my burgers like I usually do. I get the gourmet burger seasoning on both sides, hit it with a touch of Dale's, you know what I mean? So that, because the Bubba burgers, they're frozen, you know what I mean? I prefer to make my own, but we were in a time crunch. So I just put a little splash of Dale's on top. And as the burger steams, the Dale's kind of seeps down into the meat. And that's my secret recipe. So I'm telling it to the whole world right here. If anybody ever does it and says it's their recipe, don't believe them because, it's mine. And I created it myself. So the burgers were delicious. I took my shoes off because the weather was so good. And I just kind of realized that I was looking at my feet and how white and pale they are. I was like, man, we don't go around barefoot enough. You think about the people that lived before us, and I'm not even talking native people. I'm talking 30 years ago. People were barefoot a lot more. But we just don't do it enough. And I think it's, there's a certain quality about a person that can walk around in the woods barefoot and not even think about it. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
I actually have a lot of thoughts on that.
Okay.
There's scientific thoughts as well. There was a study done where they studied the electromagnetic fields between the human body and the ground. All right, the currents that was going on. So it was quite a simple study. They studied a person with their shoes on standing in grass. Little to no electromagnetic currents moving about. All right, they had that person take the shoes off. What happens? Well, they're barefoot in the ground and the electromagnetic currents go off the charts. Now, why is that important? All right, I think it's important because what is magnetism? What are magnets? That's a question, non-rhetorical. What do they do?
Well, they either oppose or they attract, I think is kind of the main idea, right?
It is the main idea. And these magnets were not in opposition. In fact, they were attracting toward one another. And really, it was our bodies, the human body, was made to interact with nature. Our neglection of that, building things like what we call concrete jungles, are actually harmful to our bodies because we don't have the opportunity to go out into nature and be not one with nature, but really, I can't tell you the amount of studies that there are that prove health benefits for people who walk barefoot in nature. Now, it's dirtier. I'm victim number one, well, maybe perpetrator number one of not desiring dirty toes. I have tender feet. Many people have told me I have model-like feet, except they say model-like feet for women. Um, so I don't know if that's a compliment or what, but that's beside the point. We were made to interact with nature. We were not made to sit in our homes all day, not walk barefoot. You know what I'm saying? On the grass, not the concrete, on the grass, on the ground, in the dirt. And I'm no hippie, though. I just want to be. I just want to, you know. Period.
I feel you. I just want to, period. I like that. That's beautiful, man. No, I don't really know anything about the studies. Once again, I do little to no research throughout my life. But I believe what you're saying about the magnetism. I mean, I love walking around barefoot. I was out there running around with, Amber and Jacob's kids, playing a little soccer, throwing the ball around. And it was great. I was like, man, I need to go barefoot way more often because this is it's so satisfying. So maybe we'll have to do some sort of experiment ourselves to see if there's any health benefits to this. But after Saturday, this morning, we served in the children's ministry for the first time. It was really pretty simple. We just greeted, open the door, give a smile, say hello, good morning. So that was a blast doing that. And then after church, one of our friends, her name is Joy, she was having a birthday party. So we all went over to her house and we had some pizza and we had some Costco cupcakes, which are incredible. I think they were cookies and cream. It was a chocolate cake with cookies and cream icing. And it knocked my socks off. Talking about going barefoot, it knocked my socks off. So, yeah, it's been a great weekend. It's been a good, really past 7 days.
Yeah. While you were chatting about that, I mean, I just have a ton of questions, but I was also researching what I went back to my prior research documents on barefoot walking, and I found an interesting tidbit about how walking barefoot actually strengthens the immune system. Because it actually decreases the white blood cell count and increases the red blood cell count, which the outcome of that indicates a positive immune response. It's also been found to improve your sleep. It's been found to reduce the risk of heart disease. It's been found to regulate the nervous system, decreasing feelings of anxiety and stress. Now, again, this is not walking barefoot on carpet in your home. This is walking and playing soccer with your kid, with your best friend's children kind of thing. Outdoors in nature. One question on your water. Well, not a question. I did a little more research on the water memory. And this is a .org thing.
Can't be
it's
fake.
Just yeah, sure. The last paragraph of this document, I'll give the credits. Scientists show that water has memory. It's by the Resonance Science Foundation. I do not know what they believe, so this is not an endorsement. I'm just reading what they are writing. It says, water has memory, suggesting that everyone is globally connected by the water in the human body, which travels through ongoing journeys, whereby information along the way is always stored. That's the last paragraph of this article.
What a weird way to end it. I don't know what they said in the middle, but it's kind of an odd way to wrap it for sure.
We're gonna need to do some more research. Yeah. It's interesting, man. I feel like that's an opinion piece, but I won't comment too much on it.
Certainly possible.
Did you do something with greeting on Sunday?
I did.
What did that look like? I must
It
have
looked
missed
like
that.
it looked like me and my wife at the barn. That's what they call it. We live in Lakewood Ranch, so they call it the barn. And we just, we stand at the front. People come with their children. We open the door. We say, hello, good morning. We put a smile on our face. And they come in, they drop off their kids, and then they leave. So for a lot of the parents, that's kind of the first interaction that they get at the church. So, yeah, it was, easy. It's easy to smile and say good morning on a Sunday morning, but I had a good time doing it with, arguably my favorite person of all time. So I had a blast.
Now, were you trained on how to do this? Like, what were 3 tips and tricks to greeting at the barn?
I would say the first one is probably, so it's an outswing door and you're standing on the inside, right? So you see someone coming, it's kind of hard to push and keep that arm extended holding the door, because then it's tough on you physically, but you're also partially in the doorway, So after a couple of those, I said, all right, I got to switch up my tactics here. I see someone coming and you just got to beat them to the punch. Go ahead and open the door, walk outside, and hold it from behind the door. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2, I had gum this morning. I don't feel like I was getting close enough for anyone to smell my poor breath, but I didn't want to risk the chance. So that's my tip number 2, is make sure that your breath is not offensive or repulsive. Tip number 3, just make sure you have a smile on your face, I feel like if someone's coming to the church and they're going to drop off their kids and someone opens the door for them and says, good morning, and they've got a blank look on their face. It's like, do I want these people taking care of my kids while I'm going to church? Or even worse, what does this say about the church as a whole? So those are probably my top 3 tips for being a greeter, is to just, that third one, just make sure you got a joyful smile on your face.
Yeah, those are great tips. I can't imagine looking at a church on Google and seeing a review that says the church was great, but the guy at the front door had terrible breath. 3 stars.
Would have been a 5-star if not for poor customer service, aka morning breath.
Oh man. Well, that sounds like an excellent week, man.
It was good. And I'm stoked to hear about yours, even more so.
Yeah, I got a week to share with you, man. Monday rolls around. We're hitting the pickleball courts. Well, who do I befriend but none other than another lad named Beau? He spells it B-O. He's also great at pickleball, high energy. He is, I'd say, 6'4"-ish.
Big Daddy.
Big guy. Yeah, Big Daddy Beau. And I tell you, he was a blast to play with. Such a blast that we played again on Thursday evening. But now I'm jumping ahead in my week. But I just wanted to send Beau a shout out because he listens to this podcast now.
Let's go.
He travels for work. I'm also sharing way more information than he's allotted me to share, so I'm gonna stop right now and apologize. But Tuesday rolls around, we got life group. Well, what do we do at life group? Well, we go bowling as part of our time with one another. And I'll tell you this much, I don't know if I've been bowling in the past 5 to 7 years. And it showed. My fingers, they hurt. You know, you put your thumb in the hole and you fling it. Well, it starts to rub your thumb the wrong way. And so my thumb began to be in pain. So I actually took all my fingers out and I just got as light of a ball as I could find and really just threw it pretty hard.
Just overhanded.
And I had a couple strikes on that rhythm. So I think going in next time, I'm doing that. I'm just barehanding the ball and just tossing it. Wow. And getting some good velo on it. That was a great time. Wednesday rolls around. What is Wednesday? Do you know?
Angels, demons, and the unseen world.
Angels, demons, and the unseen world. Wow. Just incredible. We went over the promises of the Lord. You know, the fact that the Lord is going to conquer these demons, ultimately, Satan. At the end of time, we talked about the end times a little bit, but not a ton of it. We talked about just that, again, it's no contest, people. You're not looking at the Lord versus Satan. There is none of that. It's the Lord God is in control of Satan. In fact, he can demolish him at any point he desires. That's just one of the promises, is the Lord is going to destroy Satan. Will we be on the winning side? Here's an interesting fact that we talked about. You hear, we are saved by faith, not by our works. You hear that a lot. Mm-hmm. And it's in the Bible, I'm pretty sure. But the interesting point was, we are actually saved by works. Not our own, however. We are saved by the work of Jesus. So, if we're just blindly have faith in nothing, if we just say we have faith and it's not in the work of the cross, then we're missing the scale of eternity. But if we look to the cross, the work of the cross, which was that Jesus died, rose again for who? Us. People, the people of the world. Literally anybody who's listening right now. Then that would be the work of the cross. Does this make sense? How it's not, we're not saved by our works, but we are saved by a work, and that's the work of Jesus. That is not an original thought, by the way. That was a thought that was told to me, written down, and now remembered and communicated virtually. Onward. Thursday. Oh, what happens Thursday? Pickleball. I hinted at this on Monday, and it was really a test for our listeners. However, I'm not sure if they passed or not. So, we're here at Thursday. We're playing pickleball. We meet Walker and Chip. You know what? Chip actually knows Diane McElhaney, who is one of my coworkers and, quite frankly, my best friend. And Diane doesn't listen to this, nor does she know about it. But I want you to know, Diane, that Brett and I love you deeply and generously.
That's the truth. That is the truth.
So we're playing them. Then we start moving around. I play a couple games with Beau. I play a couple games with Grant Richardson, college student. We got Shane Corrigan. We got Carson Holt and Abby Bennett. They're all playing as well. It's a great dandy time. Now, Friday rolls around. Friday, here's what happens. We're going to pickleball, right? Friday morning pickleball. Well, it doesn't happen. It's a little rainy, cloudy. So what do? We go to Chewy's. We get some creamy jalapeno, and we're scarfing that down. And what happens? Well, it turns out to be sunny. So we're like, oh, let's go play pickleball now. Well, why is that not a good idea? I'll tell you. When you eat about 3 quarts of creamy jalapeno and 7 baskets of chips with a side of not creamy, but chicken tortilla soup, and then go play pickleball one-on-one, because literally it was just the two of us, Connor Coleman and I, faithful listener.
Big Red Machine.
It's Big Red Machine. It's not a good idea. Your legs will turn to jello. Your stomach will eat itself. Your head will start to have a fever. You know what happened as well? It started to pour down rain, and there were 20-mile-per-hour winds. So we were hitting the ball, and the ball's and so we're moving back and forth, and then it gets rainy and slippery. So, quite frankly, I felt like I was going to experience the creamy jalapeno pain once again as it came out of me from the front. However, it did not. So we leave. My parents, they come into town Friday night. My father goes for a recording in Ocala for the Florida Baptist men's choir. Not men's, it's just Florida Baptist choir. Plenty of women, wonderful, wonderful women are in there.
Is that for Kanye's new album?
I think Kanye and Ludacris. I think that's their new album together.
Sick.
And they'll have the Florida Baptist Choir as that Sunday, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
So he's over there. Well, my mother and I, we go to Sephora because I needed to get some makeup because quite frankly, I ran out. So that was good. And then we go to Las Margaritas. Well, what do we get at Las Margaritas? Do you remember?
If I was a betting man, I'd say chicken Jalisco.
Chicken Jalisco, double rice, no beans. Double rice, no beans.
I just gotta pause here and say your accents today, not the best I've heard from you. Hey man, I'm not. The least prideful way I can say this is I'm usually pretty good with accents. However, it's been quite the day, okay? It's been quite the day. It's been quite the weekend. So cut me a little slack. Onward. Friday we get back from Las Margaritas. Well, what am I gifted with? My parents have listened to our episode about the s'mores. They've heard the backlash we've received on the s'mores, and they have supported the cause of the s'mores. And it just means so much, because now I get to eat s'mores. That was fantastic. Saturday rolls around, we wake up. Youth Weekend, which is a youth conference, that's the weekend, happened this weekend. All right, I was in charge of leading the day of operation of Block Party. It's about a 2.5 hour time. For the kids, however, it's about a 10 hour to 12, not 12, I'll say 10 hour commitment. So we're setting up the block party, and I just want to take a moment to recognize, and he would hate that I'm doing this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Kevin Clutters. I probably shouldn't have said his last name because that's a little too revealing. Let's say Kevin C. Kevin C. I mean, I tell you, bleep it out in post production. We'll get Rodrigo to bleep it out.
Yeah. Kevin C has helped me so much the past 2 weeks, and it's not even his job. He's just a servant, man. One of the great men in the world. We need more Kevin C's in this world, and if you know Kevin C, you need to take a moment to thank him for the work he's doing. Onward. Block party rolls around. We're dancing, man. We're having an absolute ball. My friends at Bee's Gelati, they're at the block party, so I'm getting to interact with them. We did a little dance battle, okay? We had some middle school guys, some middle school ladies, and some high school ladies, and some leaders. Well, it was such a fun time. We also did the conga, the conga line.
I love the conga line.
Yeah. I was leading it, and I was too excited, so I was going too fast. And I feel like my shirt was being ripped off because people were, they were going pretty slow, but maybe they were just enjoying the moment so much. But the goal was to have the world's longest conga line. We wrapped around the entire campus. And it took about 40 minutes to make it, but we did it. And it was incredible. There was no Guinness person there, but I bet it would have been pretty close to the world's longest conga line. Then Sunday rolls around, which is where we are here. I'm over at Southwest this Sunday, the Southwest campus of Westside Baptist Church, and Brother Richie Baldwin is preaching, and what a gift he is to the community of Gainesville, the community of America, and the community of the world. And it was just a blast. So we're here now, and I can say that I am better for the week that I've just experienced by the grace and mercy of the Lord.
Wow. Well, that sounds like an eventful 7 days. If you don't mind me asking, what were some other things you had at the block party? Because if there was a conga line and gelati, there's got to be some other fun stuff, right? Because that's pretty. Oh, it's hard to beat those two, but
it was pretty popping. All right, we of course had the gym open for anybody who wanted to play basketball, but really people were focused on what was going on the outdoors. So we had our volleyball, we had kickball, we had our backyard type games, we had football, of course. Here's a couple of cool things we had. We had a game truck where you go in, play video games, or play Dance.
Yeah.
We had Honey Nitro coffee cart, which is cold brew, and you get some middle schoolers on cold brew. Oh, the dance party just goes crazy. And it was quite cool, actually. They have it on an electric bike. Their coffee cart is on an electric bike, and the bike works. They can just drive the bike wherever. So if they're in a farmer's market, they can just ride the bike wherever you need to. And go, hey, got some coffee for you. And it's very beautifully set up. Pretty good. Then we had 9 Square, of course. And then we had two more vendor type items. One of them was a dunk tank. So people were throwing balls and they were dunking the leaders.
Classic.
That was good. And then finally, I think this was a pretty cool item. You ever played Hungry Hungry Hippos?
I have.
So they had an inflatable of Hungry Hungry Hippos, and they had harnesses and bungee cords. So you would harness yourself in. You'd have your bag connected to the back, and you would have to, on 3, you'd say 1, 2, 3, go. You would run, go get your balls, put them in the bag. Run, go get your balls, put them in the bag. But the thing with the bungee cords is the bungee cords restrict you at a certain point. All right, so you couldn't pass a point, but there was an extra layer. The bungee cords were attached to each other, parallel. So if I'm going for the thing and you're lined up across from me, you're actually going to be pulled back into the wall. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's cool.
So there was some great competition going on there, but it was a great time. Lots of fun.
Man, sounds like a blast. And I know, Youth Weekend sounds like it's getting a little more elaborate as time goes on. Of course, I guess they've been kind of doing it like that for a few years, but seems like it's pretty legit.
Yeah, it's fun. It's very much the first year I was a part of it, they did a big capture the flag type thing where everybody played.
Mm-hmm.
But this one is more it's decentralized, if that makes sense. You kind of pick and choose what you want to do. You have vendors, you have games, etc.
Dang. Yeah, it's a real choose your own adventure type deal.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, one thing that we are excited to bring you guys is a service that we would like to maybe not advertise here, but also advertise here as Beau just gets into the gooeyest portion of a s'more right there. I mean, he had about a 2-foot long string going from that marshmallow. And this service is called Frankly Frugal Budgeting Services. So me and Beau, we got together and we said, what is something people that our age in particular, dude, I'm trying to do an advertisement here and he is choking on the dang graham crackers over here. People our age, they're not good at budgeting typically. I know that's an overarching statement and it's probably not fair of the people of my generation. But I feel like me and Beau are maybe a little more financially savvy than the average bear that is in their 20-somethings. And so,
as you can tell from our plea every week, subscribe
right.
to our channel.
Right. Exactly, man. Exactly. So for the price of $25, it's a one-time cost. But me and Beau will get on a Teams call or a Zoom, whatever you prefer. Or, if it's possible, we can meet up in person with you at a coffee shop, not order anything, of course. Latte breath, but we'll sit down with you. We'll go over kind of your financial goals and objectives, kind of see where you're currently at financially, and help you set up a budget that you can kind of carry through this next year, so that you can hit your goals and everyone can be happy. So, not saying that money is, where you get happiness from, but no need to stress about it is what I'm saying. So, Beau, I know you're excited about this product. I didn't know if you had any thoughts on it.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts, but quite frankly, we don't have enough time to get into my thoughts. However, I will share a couple. Why in the world would you budget your money? Let's think about this. I think the initial answer is, well, because I don't know what to do with it. That's the wrong answer. You see, you should budget your money because it's not yours, period. It's the Lord's. And if you're not stewarding it well, we would believe that we are not living in step in the right walk with the Lord. So how are we going to steward money well? Then in comes the budget. If you just want to budget for, I want to make as much money as humanly possible, that might not be the right move. All right. If you want to budget because you want to steward the resources that you've been given well, that is what I'm passionate about. And if you can see that vision, oh boy, we can buy all the shaving cream in the world with the amount of money you're going to save and steward.
What a great plug. Anything else you have to add to it?
Yeah. What makes us different? Because, of course, you can go online and set up your budgeting for free. And if you didn't know that, well, you're welcome for that information. But why would you choose us to budget?
You're
Let's think
asking
about
me
that.
this question, or are you posing
Yeah.
this to yourself?
I'm asking you that question.
Well, I mean, obviously we're kind of tailoring this to people our age. The product is for anybody with ears, let them hear. But really, I forgot your question, to be honest.
Why would someone choose us?
That's right, over someone else. Well, I think, if you're listening to this podcast, maybe you share kind of the same values that we do. We hope that you do. But, it's always good to have two handsome young gentlemen as kind of a sounding board for, hey, I'm thinking about this, not quite sure what to do about that. And we can certainly give some advice based on that. Also, we interact on a weekly basis with our listeners. And so we have just a much more intimate relationship than you would get if you had, if you contacted a random person online. They don't really have your best interest at heart. Whereas, me and Beau would certainly, we would take it to heart, and then we would be, we want the best for you. And I think that's kind of our calling card there.
Yeah, I agree. Is for us, it's not really about the money. I mean, if it was about the money, we'd charge you $90. We want to see you steward your resources well, and that's what we want to help with. So if you're thinking, why, you can go to a free online budgeting service. And actually, to an extent, I would recommend using that after your budget is set up, because you want somewhere to track your expenses. But the actual setup is what we are doing. How much should I give to rent? How much should I give to groceries? How much should I spend on entertainment? These are the questions we're going to help answer. So I'm excited.
Oh, me too. I think we're
going to
be
pretty firm, because quite frankly, it's easy to get lax. And we're going to play the firm card. All right. So you don't have to worry about it. If we're firm, you just fall in line. You can disagree with us. It's your money, but we're going to be firm, because we believe that what we are selling, what we are saying, is going to be the right thing.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, a little tough love never hurt anybody, right? Especially when it comes to finances. Sometimes you need someone to say, look, just because you're charging it to the Starbucks card on your phone doesn't mean that when you buy the drink that it's free. You know what I mean? That's just a little example. Same can be said for your Target app and things like that. But, it's just little stuff like that sometimes you need a little tough love on. So we're here to provide that for you.
Yeah, I'm excited. Also, real quick, I just wanted to celebrate something. We crossed 1,000 plays on Spotify and Apple Podcast this past week. That's 1,000 times people have listened to this podcast, and I can't thank you enough. Whenever we first began this podcast, I didn't even think 1,000 was achievable, but now I'm thinking, when are we hitting 10,000?
I was going to say 100,000, but
when are we hitting 100,000?
10,000 is reasonable.
But we can't set goals without reflecting on what's happened in the past. All right, so I just want to take a moment to thank our faithful listeners. And as we're thanking our faithful listeners, we gained a new subscriber this past week. Now, the subscriber reached out personally and said they desire to not be named, so we will respect that desire. However, we wanted to thank them. So thank you. All right. It just means so much that this content is touching your hearts and moving and impacting your lives. I've received the word, it's a thought-provoking podcast. Whether those thoughts are good or bad, that was not said. However, they were provoked. And that's really what we want to make you think about things. We don't want to go through life content with just whatever. We want to be called to something higher. We should always be working to improve. There's some aspect of our life that is not good. And for me, it's the majority of my life that I am not good in. And so I got to identify those spots and I got to work on them. There is no focus on one thing and be a master at it. No. It's what all do I need to be good at to honor the Lord appropriately? And I need to do everything in my power, as well as acting in the Holy Spirit's power as the helper to work to be like the Lord.
That's gorgeous. And that was it was roundabout and long-winded, and we love it. But thank you guys for the 1,000 listens. That's where all that stemmed from. But look at
sometimes
I
get passionate about some of these things. Yeah.
Well, what I got out of it was that people think that we're provocative, from a thoughts aspect, that we are provocative people, and I'm okay with that. Might I even say that I prefer that? So.
And how could you not? I did want to ask you some of your thoughts because you received a couple comments on our social media channels about your Sasquatch. And one of the comments said, as soon as this guy started talking, I knew he knew nothing about evolution. And it was in regards to your thoughts on Bigfoot being on the ark and not evolving from the Neanderthal, an offshoot of a Neanderthal. So I don't know if you want to provide further clarification or you just want to take that comment in.
Well, look, I think I'll take that comment in. Like I said, I think Jesse, my friend Jesse Dieterle, he's very, he's a geologist at heart. He knows a lot of things about the age of the earth, where everything came from. But look, I can read the Bible and realize that as well and know where everything came from. My belief is that God created man. You know what I mean? He didn't create a slime that turned into a fish, that turned into an ape, that turned into a person. And that's just, that's what I believe. So I didn't see that comment on our social media. Was that on YouTube?
It was on YouTube.
Oh, that figures. There's a lot of unscrupulous folks out there on YouTube these days, but that's kind of where we're at. So was there any other comments that were questioning my credibility on Bigfoots?
Yeah, but that was the big one.
Gotcha.
Well, what have you seen? What have you listened to this week?
I've been listening to a lot of stuff. But I would say the one that just hit the hardest today, it was today after church, is the song called What a Beautiful Name. And it's by Travis and Lily Cottrell. I'm assuming Lily is his wife. Who knows? Maybe it's his granddaughter. I don't know.
I think it might be his daughter.
Or his daughter, or his dang cousin. How am I supposed to know?
True.
But it's just, it'll get you. You listen to it, you're like, oh, I've heard this song before. Oh, this is a classic. And then about 78% of the way through, I'm not going to tell you what happens, but there's a pretty big surprise and it'll make you scream. So I think you know what I'm talking about, but I'm just going to stick it in the collection and we'll let you folks listen to it and see the surprise for yourself. I almost stood up in my dang truck while I was listening to it.
That's awesome, man. I was doing a little orchestrating there. For me, I'm going to go with Give Thanks by Abby Gamboa and Upper Room. It's just a great song, and it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. What are the places in our life that we should be giving thanks for? And are we giving thanks for them? Should we ever cease to give thanks? Again, I don't want to get into this constant questioning, because we spend a lot of time doing that. But it's a good thing to reflect on. And that'd be a challenge this week, my friends. Think about 4 things to give thanks for. And kind of like Brett opened up the podcast, if a person is coming to mind, you should text them. You should reach out. Say, hey, I'm thinking of you. I've been thinking about things I'm thankful for, and you're one of them. I mean, if I received that text,
might just make you cry.
I mean, I would need some tissues for my tears, for sure. Well,
good stuff.
Any final thoughts for our listeners, or for me, or for you to hear yourself say them?
No, I don't need to hear myself say any more words. It's getting to the point where I'm starting to scare myself, if I'm talking to myself that much. But my big takeaway was, if you're a believer, if you feel the Holy Spirit telling you to, hey, here's an opening to share the gospel or to compliment someone or to give thanks for someone, go ahead and do it. Beau loves to say on this podcast, there's no reason not to. And I would say more so than there's no reason not to, I would say there's a great reason to. You know what I mean? On the flip side. So, as we go through the week, just try to be in tune with that. And I think there's a lot of positive that can come out of it.
Yeah. And can I piggyback off of that comment?
I would love a piggyback.
All right. I'm going to talk about why we should compliment someone. Is it to make them feel good? No. That is a cause of what happens when you compliment someone. But if you are a believer, I'm talking if you are a believer, it's a reflection of Christ and what God has done for you. That's why we compliment. That's why we do things, is to reflect the love of Christ as an act of worship, recognizing the great sacrifice. Our movements, our activities are born out of a recognition of what the Lord has done. So why should we compliment someone? To glorify the Lord. Right. And through the motivation, say, I love your new haircut. All right. You're going to feel good.
Thanks.
But I'm not saying that. If my motivation is purely so you say thank you and view me higher of a person, right? It's wrong. It's wrong, my friends. And that's a lesson I have to learn. If I'm standing in a room of people, I bet I'm the worst at this. All right? Because I love giving out compliments, because I like building the relationship with people. All right, but what is that relationship rooted in? It's rooted in kind of a look at what I've done for you, kind of I've been nice so I can control kind of thing. Now that's a deep thing. Why do you serve people? Are you serving people to control them? Are you greeting people so that you can control them? I don't think you are, but if we are thinking deeply and intimately, then we need to examine that part. All right, I got to stop because it's been an hour and 5 minutes of you just, well, it hasn't been the full time. A lot of the time I've taken up by asking these these reflective questions, and I apologize halfway. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand, but I also think the questions that you're asking, that's why Time Magazine has named us the most provocative podcast of 2024. So, look, I don't think you should stop. I think people are listening. They're in their car right now, and they're saying, oh, dadgum. That's probably what they're saying to themselves, audibly, you know?
Audibly, yes. Well, sadly, we're going to see you well, it's not sad that we're going to see you in 7 days. The 7 days in between are sad because we're actually not going to see you. Unless you're a paid subscriber, then we got something special cooking up for you. But in 7 days, we're going to see you again because we love you deeply and generously, and we're going to see you in 7 days.